So we're just gonna have another look at our turkey. It's been in there for about 2 hours. I've basted it about 4 or 5 times actually. It's looking really nice. We'll kind of give you a close-up. You can see it's got some great color on it. I've just finished temping it, so into the thigh area as well as into the meaty part of the breast. My breast is sitting at about 150 and the thigh area is about 145. So we want to have an end goal of about 160. Now, I stress that you don't want to go past 160, or that's when you're going to cook some of the juices out and it becomes kind of more well done and a little bit dry. I'm actually going to cover it with a little bit of tin foil. I'm not going to seal it up tight. I'm just going to lay the tin foil over, and that will help us kind of monitor how brown it gets. It's got great color right now. It smells amazing. All that butter with the herbs in it has melted and it's just doing awesome. So we're gonna get it back in the oven and we'll check back with you when it's done. All right, so we're back and we have taken our turkey out of the oven, let it rest for about 45 minutes now. Don't be afraid to let your turkey rest. It's super important. And I know that some people say, if my turkey rests for too long, then the meat's gonna be cold. But the reality is you're gonna be pouring super hot gravy over top of your turkey. So either way, it's gonna kind of help with that. So again, just from the beginning, we did a dry brine for 2 days in the fridge. One day it was covered. The next day I uncovered it to let the skin dry a little bit. Then we took butter and mixed it with some nice fresh herbs and slathered that all over the bird, got it into a 350-degree oven and baked it for about 2.5 hours. Now it came to temp at about 2 hours and 25 minutes, or sorry, 2 hours and 20 minutes. And that is why I suggest starting to temp it early so that you get a better idea, because you certainly don't want to overcook it. Again, what we were looking for is 160-degree end cooking time. That way it'll cruise into that 165 during the rest period, but should be juicy. All right, so we're gonna have a little look here. The end product looks really nice, and I'm gonna set it up so that we can carve. All right, so there's our finished product. It's got lots of nice color on it. The skin's a little bit torn there, but having it covered with skin is better because it protects the meat a little bit. However, I basted this lot. So all that butter, so that was a half a cup of butter, of course, kept on being poured over top of it during the cooking time. All right, so the very first thing that we want to do before we start actually carving the bird is up where the wishbone is. If you would take a smaller knife, you can use a paring knife or any type of smaller knife that will allow you to get in there. And we're going to actually remove the wishbone out of here. So I'm just gonna cut a little bit of the skin away. And you typically will find the wishbone just up here. Not typically, it's always gonna be there. And you're gonna cut with the knife just down each side of the wishbone. And once you get rid of this, it really makes a big difference for you to carve the breast meat. All right. Now this has been resting also, like I said, for at least 45 minutes, maybe a little longer, and it's still quite hot. So that's something to keep in mind, that when you are when it's resting, a large bird like this or a big piece of meat, it holds on to the heat for quite a while. Okay, so wishbone is removed. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut, you're going to make an incision along the breastbone, and we're going to carefully pull that breast meat off. The perfect scenario is you get it off in one nice chunk, which will allow you to carve it very, very easily. All right, so you just work your way down. You're wanting to kind of go against the carcass of the bird or the rib cage, and that will work best. Oh, and there's still lots of juice in the breast. So that's of course a combination of us doing the dry brine as well as resting it really well and then basting it very well also. So there's one of the breasts. We'll take the other one off here. Same thing goes, just gonna follow it down. And you can actually use your hands to kind of pry it away a little bit, provided you know it's you're getting most of the meat with it. All right, so that goes pretty quick. Lots of juice in there as well, so that's a beautiful thing. All right, so we'll set those aside. Then we're going to peel back the legs and the thighs, the drumstick and the thigh. And while you're doing this, there is a piece of meat along the back here that is called the oyster. And you want to make sure that you get that. That's literally the best part. The best piece of meat on any poultry is the oyster on the back. Again, so we'll bend this back to get that off. And again, making sure to get that oyster meat. Okay. And we'll get rid of that. Now, of course, all this liquid that I'm saving and this beautiful carcass, this is gonna go into a pot and we're gonna make a nice turkey stock. With that turkey stock, you have a couple options. You can make a nice soup or you can use it for your gravy, and that's what we're gonna do in this particular case. Okay, so now we'll just set everything aside and we're gonna take our breast meat, and you can see the meat kind of runs at a certain angle there, so we're gonna carve it across the grain. If you have a half decent sharp knife, this should be quite easy at this point. And the fact that we've rested it is also super important. All right, so we're gonna put that onto our platter. And then I like to do a little bit of the dark meat. So I tend to do with the drumstick and the thigh is I pull a lot of it off just by hand. And if it's cooked well, it'll just come right off. The meat will come right off. And the same thing with the thigh meat. We're going to just pull off any of the meat that we can, and then we'll have a chance to kind of chop it up. Okay, once you've got all your meat off the legs, then you can go ahead and chop it into kind of serving size pieces. And I'm gonna put this in the middle of our platter. This looks nice. It's perfectly cooked, still juicy. Okay, so there's our dark meat down the center of the platter, which is always nice. And then our one last breast, we're gonna carve for the other side. Okay, this looks beautiful. Okay, so there we have it, folks. We have our turkey finished product onto the platter, ready to serve. Looks really good. The breast meat is nice and juicy. That to me is a major score if you can get it to that stage. So thank you again for joining me. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.